Okay, another edition of Riding Home. Dean Legge, Ryan Curley. We're going to talk about the dogs, what we saw at practice today, etc. Ryan is moving about. He's trying to find a quieter place, which is not always easy. Yeah, not always easy.
Yeah,
Hey, Ryan. Georgia moved up to number two today in the AP rankings, jumping Ohio State, which to me makes sense. I don't know that they're a ton better than Ohio State. They certainly had a better performance. And then they get back to practice today. Well, I got back to practice yesterday. We're going to see if you stick around for this elevator ride. That's what I want to see. But anyway, your
yeah,
thoughts? Your thoughts on them jumping to two?
yeah. I think that was the right call. Are you still
You're
picking me up
good.
on the
Yeah,
phone
go
good?
ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the right call. I think that, you know, Oregon's not ranked now, but at the time they were 11, and I thought that was a more impressive win than Ohio State. I thought Ohio State took a little too long to pull away there at the end. I think what we saw from Georgia on Saturday was just very impressive in general, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I thought that they moved the ball very fast. I thought, oh, look, I might have found myself a little private room. Here we go. I'm going to park it right here.
Okay.
It's still on the ground to park it right here. I just thought they looked really dominant offensively. I thought
Georgia.
that was the most, yeah, I thought that was the
Sure.
most dominant looking offense that we saw in all of college football. I tried to go back and watch parts of other games.
Did you watch
Um,
Alabama?
I did watch some Alabama, and that was pretty typical Alabama. I'm sure there's little things that Nick Saban wasn't happy about, and you could see that. But so was Kirby Smart. I mean,
They were not as consistent as Georgia on offense.
no, that's the thing. The consistency was very impressive for Georgia. I mean, the 7 drives in a row, and other than the first drive, they didn't struggle at all to move down the field. The first drive took them a little bit, and then the rest of
That's
them, it
true.
just felt like they flew down the field.
Well, because they did. I mean, there
Yeah,
weren't there was this was not a situation like it's so silly because you don't want to you don't want to pick apart um, a 46 point win over a top 11 team.
yeah,
But there are naturally things. One thing I said to somebody not so long ago was, um, that they weren't explosive in a way that you associate. They were just like completely methodical the whole time. But I think the explosiveness will come. What I mean by explosiveness is 50-yard plays. I don't remember a lot of those, but I'm going legitimately backwards here. I mean, the first drive for Georgia was well, it's taking a second or two to load. What'd you see at practice today, Ryan?
yeah. Spent more time looking at the offense. It's tough to make takeaways from the defense anyway, with the way that they show us drills, and they don't show us a lot of competition between the offense and the defense. But the A.D. Mitchell is their guy, man. That was one of my biggest takeaways. Something that is very consistent when we get to go to these practices is Kirby Smart. He's on the loudspeaker the entire time, but always A.D. Mitchell is always one of the guys that he's getting into, and it's about his speed. They always want them to hit that 21, 22 mile per hour mark, and I don't know how they're calculating it with him on his routes, but it's on the go routes. They expect a lot out of A.D. Mitchell. And Lad McConkey and Karis Jackson, I think it's cemented that that's their first group of pass
The
catchers. To me,
three.
it seems pretty cemented that those are their three starters. But I almost disagree with Kirby Smart. I think that they do have some depth at wide receiver. He'll tell you different,
Ma-
but they do have depth.
Marcus Rosenjack Saint had a great. I thought he had a very good game the other day.
Yeah, me too.
Just I can't remember what he did offensively, but I know what he was around constantly on special teams.
Hmm.
And if you don't think those matter, ask LSU. And we're going to talk a little bit about the other teams that we saw out there in college football. The first drive was 12 plays, 85 yards. The second was 7 for 92. So they got backed up pretty good, man. You're starting at the 15 and then the 8. It took them 5 minutes to score on the first drive, and then three and a half on the second. A six play drive for 56 yards, 3 minutes and 45 seconds, and then to close the half out, 8 play 75-yard drive. There were no like really quick drives, 4 play drives. We will see that this weekend, but I don't think that's concerning. I don't want to act like it is because it's not, but not yet. And just for me, when you look at it, there were a lot of guys that had explosive plays. And it depends on what you consider an explosive play, but Kenny had a 38-yard reception. Ladd 25, AD 27, 23 for Kyrus. Brock Bowers with 29, Deshaun Edwards 21, Darnell 25. Those are all explosive plays. So the way I'm putting it is a little different. They were all there. And let me just say this too. Let me add this. The run game was not as explosive as you'd wanted. Kendall with a 12, Edwards with a 10, and Robinson with a 10. But there weren't any 30-yard runs. I don't know. But again, like Marcus Rosen-Jackson had one catch for 12 yards, but I thought he popped when I saw him, and maybe it was just that one first play. I don't know, but I don't think it was just that.
Yeah, I think it wasn't fast in that they only had 2, 3, 4 play drives, but that no huddle and the way they did it was very quick. I thought that they snapped the ball very fast. And yeah, some of those plays were explosive, but really only two stood out to me as getting the ball downfield, and one of them was that Kenny, I don't know what the number was, but that Kenny McIntosh, it was a wheel route to the left in the first half, is that play that you're talking about that he had a big gain on. And then the 80 Mitchell one that was 30 something yards. Those are the only two downfield quote unquote shots that they took. I think this coming week you will see more of those because they're just it's gonna be the talent gap is gonna be too far, and they're gonna get separation on a couple go routes. So expect to see at least one deep ball touchdown. I would predict that happens in this coming game, just because of the way it's going to go. Yeah, the run game, I agree with you, does need to be more explosive. But what we talked about 3 weeks ago, I believe we had this conversation, was they're going to use these running backs in the passing game, is exactly what we saw. I think that a lot of the things that happened, we had a good idea that they were going to happen heading into this game. I think we have a good grasp on what this team is. I think we do. They're loaded with talent, and I think that there's a variety of ways they could beat you.
Yeah, I love two things. First of all, they are extremely deep with different types of weapons, and
Mm-hmm.
secondly, I love how when I read the comments on YouTube, how people say I talk over you. That's my favorite part. You know?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean
I think
it's
we're
right,
getting
like
better.
right there. You're talking over me, right?
Yeah, listen, it's all fun. We're having fun, guys. It's all good.
If we
Uh,
can't try to spit out what we're saying, I don't know. But anyway, that's a lot of inside baseball. Anything else jump out at you at practice? I mean, when you think about it, Ryan, this is a team that now everybody's got him in the national championship game. You had Dan Mullen
mhm.
today saying Georgia's going to beat Alabama for the
Yeah,
national championship, which I'm going to talk about in a different video. But um, I mean, the practices to me, they always seem the same. They always seem the same. I know it's not always that way, but it always seems extremely, I mean, intense. Is that a right word?
they are. Well, listen, some of the players have admitted in these press conferences that they are more intense than the actual games, and they are preparing. It's a little bit about what I wrote today. The machine that they built, it is an operation, and it's the way the dog post is operation. We have a schedule. We do our thing.
Yes.
It's very much like that for them, and I think that they're bought into an idea that's bigger than just one player. I really do. Um, as far as other things that jumped out to me today, because yeah, sometimes they all do feel the same. You're just looking for little differences. Um, Offensive line group is the same one that's been thrown at us, and it was the starting lineup. I think we're going to continue to see a mix match.
Right.
But the
Right.
other thing that's been standing out to me the last couple of weeks is Eric Gilbert. I don't know if you've looked at that part of my practice report yet, but it's just little things, and it's not God's word. It's not. I don't know everything that's going on, but something's off with me. Just the way when I'm watching Gilbert at these practices.
Well, we don't know what we don't know. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's no telling really what I mean. You got to go hard all the time. Make sure you're picking up DAWGSTRUCTION. The link is down below. We've had a heavy amount of people ordering lately. Don't be a person that misses out on this. We're going. This is not going anywhere, but you do want to take advantage of it while you can. The cover is going to change slightly in the near future, and there's going to be. I got to work on that slightly, but if you love the way it looks this second, don't think it can get better, make sure you're picking it up right now. For Eric, look, number one, the two guys that are, in front of him on the depth chart are playing really well. Marcus Rosemy-Jack Saint had a good day. Stetson had a good day. Darnell Washington had a great day. And I need to watch it one more time. But what they're doing offensively, I was talking to somebody, man, today that's an NFL person, and I said I don't know who they're going to be challenged by, and their comment was by nobody. I don't know about that, but one of our posters over on the site who keeps up with sort of predictive models about what the point spreads will be. Georgia's right this second, and these can change. Georgia's not going to be favored with fewer than 15 points the rest of the season, the way it stands right now. I mean, if Florida continues to get a lot better, if Kentucky gets a lot better, you could see those games be at 12 or 13. You could also see them at 17, Ryan. These guys, I want to see them continue to do it. Okay, so this game is, if people aren't going to give Georgia credit for that, and that's fine. But at the South Carolina game, they are going to be tested to some degree. Carolina did not look good on Saturday, but I want to see them do it a couple more times.
Yeah, I feel the same way as you. And I feel that way just about college football in general, with all these rankings and everything and all these predictions. Need to see a couple more weeks of football. I need to see a couple more weeks of football before I have a deeper opinion on an Alabama, Ohio State. And I feel the same way about Georgia, but I think we're around it to where we know more about what Georgia is. I am doubtful that they'll be challenged that much in the regular season either. And
Who,
I think South Carolina is interesting, and that's their first test in a way, hot noon kick away rival game. So there's
not a
all those
rivalry
little things that go into it. Well, for me, but so then you get
for me. What?
so
Hey, who is the fourth best team in the country?
that's a great question.
I think that is a great question.
I think that it's still a question. I don't think there's an answer to that yet, because to me it is like we've always talked about: Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State gap, and there's probably a gap between Ohio State and those two SEC teams.
Well,
But
yeah, I think you might be right. I wonder if it's
Michigan,
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I
maybe.
wonder if it's Michigan. What did you make of Clemson, and what did you make of Tech?
Okay,
Start
I
start
did
start with
watch
Tech.
that.
Let's start with Tech.
Start with Tech. Really bad coaching. Very
Oh,
questionable decisions throughout the game.
yeah.
A lot of people talking about the timeout thing in the third quarter. Can't do that.
I don't
But
mind. I don't mind. I gotta say, Ryan, I don't mind one timeout. I don't like it.
it's the two though.
And the other ones were just.
It's the two. When you are spending two timeouts in the third quarter, you're putting yourself in a bad spot. When you're trying to come back and you need that. Um, it looked bad. Sims has his moments, and I think that he
Mhm.
certainly has talent. He's in a bad system, and look, they lost their best player. Their best player is Alabama's starting running back now. So it's tough. This will be Jeff Collins' last year as their head coach. I thought that the game against Georgia was going to be his last game, but
It
the
probably should
AD
have
comes
been.
out with that statement after saying, "We got our guy. You got your guy for 12 more games." But Clemson thought they should have beat them by more. I thought that they should have piled it on a little bit more. I think that
Well, they won by
it took them.
31 points.
They won by 31. One touchdown was with the second string quarterback, who I really like. I really like Klubnik.
Okay.
But I thought DJU was in better shape. They talked about him losing weight. You could tell looking on screen that he's in
Yeah.
better shape. I thought that he was more accurate. I definitely think he was better than what we saw at times last year. A much better start for him than last year. Man, he couldn't have gotten off to a worse start last year. But I don't think that they're a threat to those top three teams.
So the shiny object is talking about Clemson's quarterbacks. The problem is they have no real scary players on offense. That's problem number two, actually. Problem number one is their offensive line sucks. Um,
Yes.
they're just not
Yes.
good. I don't know who the best defense in the country is, but they would eat those guys alive. And I think that I'd never thought Tech would win that game. Um, but I think Clemson could eat four losses this year. I don't. I think that is not out of the realm of possibility when you look at
I
Notre Dame, Miami, NC State. and then just some whack ball ACC game. I think they will probably lose too. And South Carolina they could lose, but they won't. So this is not good, is the way I would put it. They're not going to lose to
Yeah.
Wake Forest. I don't buy that, but they could. We,
I
we, we've,
think,
we've gotten, let me just spit this last statement out. We've gotten to the point with them where for a 5 year period or 4.5, there was any game they could lose, but they just didn't. But it was always there because Dabo just doesn't seem to run it the way that you'd really want to all the time. Uh, we've gotten to the point where they could lose a lot of ACC games because college football has changed, and he is not changing, and something's going to happen. Either he's right and everybody's wrong, or it's the other way around.
I think it's tough for them to. I mean, I don't take it lightly that they lost both their coordinators this
Of course
offseason.
not.
I
He
don't
did
take that
that.
very lightly.
David Hale's reporting today in ESPN, Ryan, was that he didn't even do interviews. He just elevated the guys that were already in the building. And
That's not good, man. That's
I
not
can't
good.
I can't think of a different I can't think of a different way of doing things than that. I mean, when you look at Kirby, Saban, is if think okay, Kirby Smart elevated uh, James Coley. That was the worst coaching decision he made, and he has made in 6 years, and that really hurt. The best decision he made was going and hiring Todd Monken, who we're going to see, but along with Steve Sarkisian, and maybe it might be one of the best offensive coordinators of the last 10 years. So let's just see what happens moving forward. But you gotta, it doesn't just change instantly. It takes a second or two to erode. And what I saw last night was the continuation of erosion up there. And it's too late to fix it now. They're going to have to fight their way to the ACC championship. Otherwise, they got problems.
I don't think they have the juice on offense. I
I
think
don't
that they
either.
have three guys in that front seven that impressed me a lot. I can't remember the third guy's name, but he was wearing number 5
Who are you talking about?
um,
Clemson?
for Clemson.
Car-
Breezy and Miles Murphy are very good.
uh,
Number 5, I can't remember his name, but he was very good last night.
Carter
Um,
Carter was the guy that was so good for them, the linebacker from Gwinnett County. Brissy looks a little bit heavy for me, for my taste. But guys, and this happened to them last year. Why are you laughing?
Nothing.
Look, hey, is that about my weight? Is that what we're talking about? Defenses get tired, man, and we saw that last year against Georgia when the Dogs were gonna put it up 17-3 at the end of the game. They just ran the clock out instead. So your defense can't save you the entire year if you're going to be that bad on offense. If you're Ohio State, the same thing is the case. Alabama, Georgia, you cannot rely on any one thing. Georgia was top 10 defense and offense a season ago. I have not checked it, but my spidey senses say they probably are still in both right now, Ryan. That would be my guess, but I will
Yeah,
try to confirm
yeah,
right now. Go ahead.
yeah. Look, the defense for Georgia will give up points at some point throughout the year, right?
For
They
sure.
could shut out Samford. That's not crazy. I actually think it might be somewhat likely, but uh, for Clemson, I don't think they have both. I think they have a good defense, and I think they have an offense that's going to struggle. For the other three teams that we talk about, these powerhouses,
Hmm.
I think they have good both. Now, Ohio State, I'm a little bit more out on. I need to see more. I thought they had some good moments on defense against Notre Dame, and I think that their offense struggled more than what we will see throughout the year. I don't think that they will play as not that they were poor, but I don't think they'll play as poorly as they did. There's too much talent on Ohio State's offense for them not to be that good throughout the year. But Clemson doesn't have that. I'm not sure Michigan does either. And I tell you what, I wasn't impressed with Texas A&M. I know they're ranked 6th.
No, they were
I
not
was not
good.
impressed with them.
No,
I actually was more impressed with Notre
no.
Dame in their loss than I
Yes.
was with A&M in their win.
Yes.
So USC moved up to 10 in the rankings. Got to see them more. We know that they've got the coaching and they've got the talent. It's just a matter if they can put it together fast enough. But that's their only chance at the At the playoff, probably. I mean,
I'll tell
Utah and Oregon opening week losses.
SC. It would have to be SC. But listen, Georgia's 21st in scoring offense. Let's see where that calibrates after
Mhm.
2 weeks. They're top 10 on defense. Let's see how that calibrates in 2 weeks. We got Tennessee scored 59 points in game one. Alabama scored 55. That's just those two. They're not even. I mean, Alabama's not even top 10. So Mizzou scored more points than Georgia. So I mean, Missouri does not have a better offense than Georgia. So we'll just see. We'll just see as time goes on. Look at the Kansas Jayhawks scoring 50 points. Anything else jump out for you at practice?
Yeah, I think the easiest way to put it is that Malachi Starks is going to be a very important person for this team for the next 3 years. I think that he cemented himself as a starting safety, and that's what it looked like at least.
That's
And
amazing.
Kirby Smart is always was on him a little bit today, just wanting him to pick up the pace and stuff like that. They tend to be on the guys that
Yeah,
they know can do better. Um,
or that they
and
need.
or that they need. And Malachi Starks is just that type of athlete. He just is. He's very important for them. I think that he's going to continue to make some flashy plays. A guy that they could put on offense too if they really wanted to, because what he's capable with the
Yeah,
ball. I don't think you'll see that, but something they could do. You could put him as a kick returner too. I don't
you,
think we're going to see things like that, but a guy that's dangerous with the ball in his hands as well. Um, we'll see.
I'm not sure if we've seen a more athletic interception in a while. Christopher Smith, though,
Yeah,
go ahead. Christopher Smith just he seems to understand where the ball is going and he goes to it.
yeah.
But I'm not sure we've seen a more athletic play than what Malachi did the other day. And again,
No, I
go ahead.
agree. I agree. Well, what I was going to say about Christopher Smith, I think other than Stetson Bennett, Christopher Smith has been the most improved player for the Georgia Bulldogs the last 3 years.
Yes, I mean,
Continues to get better and better.
man, now I got a real quick rant. Real quick rant. I get annoyed with the coaches dismissing stars because that's fine. Whatever you want to do to make yourself feel like you know more about football. You literally are a football coach, so that you don't need to explain that you know more about football because of stars. But Christopher Smith was not a guy that people were desperate to get to their camp with. I mean, they wanted him. Georgia obviously wanted him. But he was someone that disappeared for 2 years, seemingly. And then all of a sudden, after all of the work he did in, I guess, 18 and 19, yeah, it'd have to be 18 and 19. Here comes Christopher Smith midway through the 20 season with Richard.
Mm-hmm.
And, my suspicion is Christopher Smith has been doing the little stuff the right way the whole time. It's adding up. And now you're seeing what it looks like to see a person who's done it for 5 years when they're in the limelight. And this guy is not going to be remembered like Greg Blue or Sean Jones or anybody like that. Can you think though of a person who's made? I mean, he seems to make a lot of plays when you need them, and that has got that's not coincidence, man. I mean, that interception was a big deal against Oregon. They seem to have momentum at that moment. Part of it was because of Chris, but a year ago against Clemson, that game that was the providing scorer.
Yeah. No, I mean he had the game-winning touchdown
Yeah,
against Clemson, and
right.
his leadership matters to the team. A guy that's been around a while and has seen the way that you do it and
You
does it.
can't you
He's
can't
definitely one
cheat
of the
your
more
way
versatile
to having
players too.
success. You cannot cheat your way to having
Yeah.
success. The scoreboard does not lie.
No, I'm impressed with it. He does seem to know where the ball is going to be. But the thing I'm most impressed with him, not afraid to lower the shoulder and put you on the ground. I mean, there were 2 or 3 times where he just laid a guy out against Oregon. Definitely someone that's put on some muscle as well over the last year or two. I'm very impressed with Christopher Smith. I think you're right. A guy that's just been around and has done it and has just gotten better and better, and it shows. And he's going to work his way into getting drafted.
Oh, he's definitely getting drafted. I
Yeah.
just wonder how long his career will be. We don't know. I know this. Stetson Bennett's getting drafted. I don't know if you heard it I don't know if you heard it on Riding Home First or not, but I mean,
Yeah, he is.
you're going to take a chance on Tim Tebow and not that guy? And that was a first round pick. Stetson's not a first round pick
No.
yet. apparently. I'm going to
We'll
say
see.
comma yet. No, yeah, it doesn't seem like it to me, but
Hey, is he the leader in the Heisman race? He's up there.
he's
I
probably
know it's
not
one
the
week.
he's probably not the leader right now. And again, like everything else, we need to see a little bit more from Stetson. It can't just be
Mhm.
1 week. This was a dominating performance. We've seen Georgia for 16 games, with the exception of I guess the Clemson game, although that was pretty dominating in many aspects of that game.
Mhm.
It does make you. This is perhaps a question for another time. It does make you wonder why that they didn't go with Stetson earlier. Eh, we'll see you on the next edition of Riding Home.